Thank you, Saleem. And I'll just take up where some of my other colleagues have left off. But first, I think we need to take a step back. And this is one of the things that the Secretary General did when he decided to convene his climate summit. He set two objectives. First was to mobilize political will towards a universal and meaningful agreement, formal agreement in 2015. And second was to catalyze ambitious action on the ground among various stakeholders. To take the point up that Michael stated, he recognized early that leaders will be in a more comfortable place making ambitious commitments if they were supported by citizens, CEOs, and cities. And this was the logic behind the ambitious action agenda, which was launched at the summit, where leaders from government, over 100 heads of state and government, and hundreds of leaders from business, finance, industry, civil society, local and subnational leaders join together around coalitions to reduce emissions, strengthen resilience, mobilize money and move markets, and also to price carbon. And by any measure, and as well coupled with the mass mobilization of citizens, not only at the march, but also on social media. The hashtag Climate 2014, the summit's hashtag, received over 3 billion impressions on Twitter. It reached over half of all Twitter users. We have this graph that we have shown, which shows this spikes on Twitter on climate-related discussions on the day of the march and the summit. It was absolutely huge. Post-summit, Twitter discussions on climate have increased by over 15 to 20%. There were over 30,000 climate-related articles around the march and the summit. Over 80% of those articles were positive. So one cannot underestimate the effect of effective global mobilization campaigns. And I therefore share Michael's assessment that whoever is responsible for marketing this zero emissions, zero poverty campaign is absolutely brilliant. Now, 2015, prior to joining the UN 6 months ago, I represented a developing country and I work in developing countries. So I'm only 6 months into this UN job, so I might not always say everything that a UN official should say. But at the national level, quite frankly, there should be no difference, and there is no difference between pursuing sustainable development and poverty eradication and pursuing low carbon climate resilient development. They need to be the same at the national level. And the pursuit of those agendas by the traditional environment ministries is not necessarily the correct approach in developing countries. We must engage ministries of finance and planning. This is my experience working in a development bank in the Caribbean. You need to engage from early the ministries of finance and planning in developing countries. And the entry points will not always be reducing emissions, about reducing emissions. For example, when we engage countries on renewable energy projects, it was not about reducing emissions. It was about job creation. It was about reducing the cost of energy. It was about creating healthier more and safer living and working conditions. It was about expanding energy access. So there is no difference, which are all seen as sustainable development goals and ends. So I really don't see at the national level this difference between pursuing the sustainable development agenda and the climate agenda. It just means that in pursuing the climate agenda, one sometimes needs the sustainable development hook or hooks around pursuing the broader sustainable development goals.
Great. Thank you very much, Selwin. Let's give them a round of applause. Can we stick around for a few more minutes? Maybe take a few comments and questions from the floor. Maybe we'll gather a few, and then we'll invite the panelists to respond to the ones that they feel most appropriate. So please raise hands if you want to speak. The microphone will come around to you.